I never thought I'd be invited to anything like that. Not with my background, not with my face. Marilyn was my roommate in college. Blonde, tall, the kind of girl who didn't have to think about money. Her dad was some hedge fund guy in Connecticut. Mine sold tires in a garage that no longer exists. When she asked me if I wanted to go to her friend Leo's birthday party, some guy she knew from prep school, I said yes before I thought it through. She warned me, it's gonna be weird. But like in a fun way, it wasn't fun. We drove out to the estate at sunset. It wasn't a house. It was a mansion planted in the woods. Massive iron gates opened as soon as we arrived, like they were expecting us. The driveway was lined with torches. Yes, actual torches. It was theatrical, ridiculous. Marilyn smiled like she was going home. Leo's extra, you'll see. Inside, everything gleamed. Velvet walls, a string quartet played in the foyer while people in cocktail dresses and tuxes stood around sipping something that sparkled. The air smelled like expensive cologne and something else, something metallic. Marilyn disappeared almost immediately. Some guy kissed both her cheeks, handed her a drink, and off she went, leaving me with strangers who didn't bother hiding their stare. I must have looked out of place in my second-hand dress. A waiter passed with a tray of red drinks. I grabbed one and tried to blend it. That's when I saw him, Leo. He stood at the top of the grand staircase, overlooking everyone like some bored prince. He was maybe mid-20s, lean, skin pale like marble. His suit was crimson, too fitted, too perfect, like he was playing Dracula in a school play. And his eyes landed on me. "You are new," he said, appearing beside me moments later. I hadn't seen him walk over. He just was there. Marilyn's friend, right? You have wonderful look. Kind of lost, kind of innocent. I laughed awkwardly. That's not creepy at all. He smiled with teeth that looked too straight. "Come, I want to show you something." I should have said no. We walked through a corridor lined with old portraits. Some of the faces looked exactly like the people at the party. Same eyes, same smirk, same stillness. Leo pushed open a door, revealing a theater room, red velvet curtains, an old-fashioned projector, chairs in a semicircle. Already seated there, maybe 10 other guests, silent and smiling too widely. "It's a tradition," he said, "the birthday film." I sat, suddenly cold. The lights dimmed. The projector began to whir. And then it started, footage of me. At first, I thought it was a prank. The video was from earlier today. Me getting dressed, doing my hair in the dorm mirror, texting Marilyn. My heart stopped. Then it switched to a shot of me sleeping, tossing in bed, and someone breathing behind the camera. People in the room began to laugh softly. "She's so unaware," one whispered. My stomach dropped. I stood up. "What the hell is this?" Leo didn't move. The best art is honest. I bolted for the door, but two of the guests, still smiling, stood and blocked it. "You haven't seen the ending," Leo said. The screen flickered. Now it showed a dark room, a figure tied to a chair, facing away. Her hair. It was my hair. I screamed. I don't know how I made it out. Maybe the panic helped. I shoved of the guest, cracked my shoulder on the wall, ran blindly down the hallway and burst through a service door. The woods were pitch black. the mansion fading behind me like a nightmare being erased. I didn't stop running until I hit a road and flagged down a trucker. The police went back with me. The mansion was empty. No party, no torches, no Leo. Just an abandoned estate crumbling from the inside. They said there'd be no party there in 15 years. Said that some rich boy named Leo had gone missing around the time I was born. They called scandal, rituals, disappearances, urban legend stuff. They said I must have been mistaken. Marilyn never came back to the dorm. Her number was disconnected. Her social media wiped clean. Sometimes late at night, I still get anonymous links sent to my email. They lead to videos of me sleeping, eating, walking to class, and always someone is breathing behind the camera. My uncle died in July. Heart attack. Alone in that dusty old house on the edge of grey pines, the kind of place that always looked like it was seconds away from collapsing. He never married, never had kids, just a man and his tools and an unhealthy obsession with analog tech. He left the house to me. You are the only one who ever visited. The lawyer said he wanted it to go to blood. I hadn't seen him in 5 years. The house smelled like dust and rot. Ceiling tiles sagged, cabinets stuck, but somehow the power still worked. I was boxing up his stuff when I remembered the basement, the one he always told me to stay out of when I was a kid. Nothing but junk down there, he would say, locking the door like it was sacred. The key was taped under the kitchen drawer. I wish I'd never used it. The stairs groaned under my weight as I descended. A weak bulb burst overhead. The basement was packed wall to wall with old electronics, radios, TVs, reels, antennae, or even a ham radio set covered in dust. There was a VHS player in the corner and hundreds of unmarked tapes stacked in shoe boxes, except for one. One tape had a label, handwritten, "For Ethan, do not watch alone." Ethan is my name. I stared at it for a long time before I picked it up. I brought it upstairs, slid it into the dusty old VHS player he kept hooked to the living room TV. The screen went black, then static. Then it started playing. It was footage of me. At first, I thought it was old. Maybe my uncle had filmed me when I visited as a kid. But then I noticed something strange. The clothes I was wearing, the apartment I was in, it was current. That was me, last week, sitting on my couch eating cereal. The angle was wrong. It wasn't from a phone or security cam. It was like someone had hidden an old VHS camcorder inside the wall. The tape cut. Now I was outside, walking down 7th Street, talking on the phone. The footage was grainy but clear, like someone had been following me. I hit stop. My hands were shaking. I called my mom, asked if Uncle Jeff ever mentioned filming people. She paused. When he got back from the hospital, he said someone was watching him. Said there were tapes. We thought it was the meds. She told me to throw the tape away. I didn't. That night, I heard a clicking sound coming from the living room. I crept out of bed and found the TV on. Static filled the screen. The VHS player was open. The tape was back inside, even though I'd left it on the kitchen table. I hit play. This time, the footage was from outside the basement. A camera facing the stairwell, light flickering, then me, walking down the steps from earlier that day. But the audio was wrong. I could hear breathing behind the camera, raspy, close. Then the footage zoomed in on my face as I stared around. The breathing grew heavier. Then, something moved in the dark corner of the frame. I hit stop again. My stomach turned. I turned the lights on in every room and didn't sleep. The next day, I found another tape. This one was placed right in front of the door. No label, just black casing. I slid it in. This one showed my uncle. He was younger, thinner, beard gone, pacing the basement, talking to himself. They know he's coming next, he whispered. I told them no more recordings, no more blood on tape. He stared directly into the camera like he could see me watching. If he finds this, tell him to run. Don't let it follow. Don't let it record. He reached for the camera. The footage snapped to black. I tried to leave the house. My car wouldn't start. The engine turned over but wouldn't fire. Fail signal was gone. I packed a bag and walked 2 miles before I saw a truck coming. I waved it down. The driver rolled his window down halfway. You from the old Walker house? He asked. I nodded. He just looked at me, confused. That place burnt down 6 years ago. I looked back down the road. The house was there, clear as day. I ran. I didn't stop until I hit the property line. But when I opened the door, the living room was charred black, ash everywhere. The TV was melted, the VHS player a twisted mess. But the tapes were still there, all of them unburned, and the new one sat on the table, labeled Final Recording. Ethan, I haven't watched it, but sometimes at night I hear the VHS player whir to life, even when it's unplugged. And I wake up to find the TV playing footage I haven't lived yet. Footage of me walking outside, answering the door, talking to someone I haven't met. And in the reflection of the glass, just behind me, there is someone holding a camera. I shouldn't have booked a hotel, but when Ellen offered her guest room, I was too tired and too broke to say no. We hadn't seen each other in years, not since college, and after my divorce, she'd reached out like no time had passed. Come stay with me, she said. Get away from everything, breathe. The drive took 6 hours, most of it through pine-covered hills and back roads that didn't show up on GPS. Her house sat on a quiet cul-de-sac surrounded by fog, like something drawn from memory. The porch light flickered when I arrived. Ellen looked exactly the same, bright eyes, a warm smile, still wearing those oversized sweaters she always lived in. She hugged me like family.
Come here.
The house was quiet, cozy, dim. You are lucky, she said. The guest room just opened up. I didn't ask what she meant. I was too tired. The guest room was at the end of the hall, small, neat. A single bed, white sheets, an old mirror on the dresser. No photos on the walls, no clock, no TV. Just a window that looked out into a yard so black it seemed bottomless. There was something odd about the room. The air felt heavy, like it hadn't been opened in a long time, or like someone had just been in it. Right before me, I lay down and tried to sleep. At 2:13 a.m., I woke up freezing. The window was wide open. I could have sworn I closed it. Outside, the yard was still pitch black. But I thought, Just for a second, I saw someone standing at the tree line. A woman, pale, motionless. I blinked and she was gone. The next morning, Ellen made coffee and acted like nothing happened. I asked if the room was drafty. "The room's always cold," she said. It's stubborn, like she was. I frowned. "Ooh." Ellen looked confused, then laughed it off. "You'll sleep better tonight. You just need to adjust." That night, the window was closed when I went to bed. I made sure. I even stacked books in front of it, just in case. At 2:13 a.m., I woke up again. The room was even colder. I could see my breath. And the books? They were on the floor across the room. I sat up and saw her. A woman standing at the foot of the bed. Hair dark, wet. Head tilted, eyes too wide. She didn't move, didn't speak. I couldn't scream, couldn't breathe, couldn't blink. Then she pointed to the closet. The lights flickered. Then I blinked and she was gone. I turned on every lamp and stayed up until sunrise. Ellen didn't ask how I slept. She just poured coffee and said, "If she shows you the closet, don't open it." I nearly dropped the mug. "What the hell is going on, Ellen?" She stared into her cup. She used to live here before me, before the remodel. Her name was Clara. She was trouble. I asked if someone died in that room. Ellen didn't answer. I tried to leave that day. My car wouldn't start. Just like in a cliché horror movie, I know. I asked Ellen for a ride into town. She said, "The fog's too thick today. It's better to wait." That night, I almost slept in the living room, but something told me I wouldn't be safe anywhere else. At 2:13 a.m., I woke up to the sound of scratching. It was coming from the closet. Faint at first, then louder, frantic. I sat up, heart pounding. "Don't open it." Ellen's words echoed in my head. But then, I heard a voice from behind the door, a woman's whisper. "Please, it's so dark. I'm still in here." I stood, took a step forward. "Please." She locked me in. Another step. Then, right before I touched the doorknob, I saw the mirror across the room. And in the reflection, I wasn't alone. She was behind me. I turned. Nothing. The door creaked open by itself. Inside the closet, nothing but dust. And then I looked down. On the floor was a name, carved into the wood. Clara, 2:13 a.m. And below it, one more guest. I slammed the door and slept in the bathtub. At sunrise, I packed my things, ready to walk through the fog if I had to. Ellen didn't stop me. She just stood at the door, smiling too wide. "It's a shame," she said. "She really liked you." I left. But a week later, I got an envelope in the mail, no return address. Inside was a photo, old, faded. It showed the guest room, the bed, the mirror, and in the mirror, me, asleep, with Clara standing right behind me.